Okay, for this one, we're gonna be looking at what if Miss Farmer doesn't give you the piece of graph paper already? All right, what if I don't give you the graph paper? You have to create a good piece of graph paper to put this problem on, okay? So for today, we're not actually gonna create the graph paper, we're just gonna think about creating the graph paper, how's that? So we're gonna plan, we're gonna think. There's no graph paper here, I don't want any graph paper on this homework. What we're going to do is sketch out a system with an x and y axis that gives us a general idea. We're going to try to decide on a good max and a good min for the x-axis, and a good max and a good min for the y-axis. And then we're going to think about what scale do I think I might want to use. Like if I'm going from 0 to 10, what scale do you probably use? 1. Maybe 2. Maybe if you have a little bitty tiny piece of graph paper. But if I'm going from 0 to 100, are you going to want to count by ones? No. You're going to want to think about some possibilities of what do I want to count by. And you're going to be guided by the data and also by how big you want your graph paper to be. Okay, so you ready? We're going to do a couple of these together and then you're going to do the rest of them for homework. Everybody understand? Yes? Okay, so number one, let's think about what do we want our max and our min to be. I'm going to do a little picture over here. See this little x and y axis over here? And I want you to notice that there are no negative numbers in my data table. Does everybody see that? Good. Now, what part of this graph can I get rid of if I don't need any negative numbers?
Negative.
I can get rid of this.
Yep. And the bottom.
This. And this. So I'm going to make good use of whatever piece of graph paper I have. And my graph, it's called the first quadrant graph, is going to look like that. Okay? Everybody see how that works? Allie, you can do it without the ruler, it'll go faster, okay? It doesn't have to be without a ruler. Some people really like using the ruler. At home, you can use a ruler, okay? All right, now, I want you to look at your smallest x value, and it is 0, yes? So I want to make sure that I have at least some, don't put the dot on there like I just did, that was wrong. Make sure that I include 0, and I want to go back a little bit further than that. See how I've got a little excess hanging out in there. Okay. All right, and what is my largest x value here? I have to go at least 22. It is a good idea to go a little past that, okay? Now look at your data. You've got to crowd 0, 2, 6, 7, 12, 18, 22. What do you think you want to count by? You've got to get out to at least 22. 2s? That seems like a good thing. What is another possibility? Well, if you count by, yeah, you can go by 1s. Okay, if you have a bigger piece of graph paper, you're going to go by 1s. What if you have to get on there and the 2s doesn't work? Or the next choice would probably be 5s. Does anybody like to count by 3s?
No.
4s?
I like 3.
Okay, if you like 3s or 4s, those are good choices also. But I think most people prefer 1, 2, or 5. Which one you're going to choose depends on how big a piece of graph paper I give you. Okay, so but we know we need to go out at least to 22 or more, right? And our y value's 40. Well, that's good. We're down at 0 already. And what's our highest y value? What's the highest one?
150.
150. So you're going to put 150 or higher. Something there to tell yourself. Okay? And what scale do we think we want to go? Now, we're going to go from 0 to 150. I don't think I want to count by 1s. That would kind of take a long time. Or 2s or 5s even.
10s.
10s? 10s might work if you have a nice big piece of graph paper. What if 10 is too big?
Then you go down to
5 would make it even, you'll need an even bigger piece of graph paper, right?
15s.
Okay, do you like to count by 15s? And
20s.
20s, do you like to count by 20s?
A little bit.
A little bit, they're better than 15. What's another number to count by?
25.
25, that's like quarters, yes?
Oh, I like 25. Yeah, 25.
25. If you go all the way up to 50, which is the next good choice, and you've only got 2 marks on your paper, 50, 100, 150. That's probably too big. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's take a look at the next. This is all you're doing. This is planning. When we come back to class on Tuesday, I'm going to give you pieces of graph paper, and you're going to pick which of these scales works best for the piece of graph paper.
Oh, we're not graphing?
No, you're not graphing. Do not.
Oh, that's so easy.
Do not. We are planning. Okay? Let's do number 2 together, and then we're going to stop and make sure you have all of your stuff together for your notes. okay? Whether you decide on your general picture or your scale first, that doesn't matter. Let's do the scale first this time, just to do it differently. Look at all these X's. I'm gonna go from 0 to 40. What do you think you're gonna want to count by if you're gonna go from 0 to 40? Anybody want to make a piece of graph paper that starts at 0 and goes to 40, and you count by 1?
No.
Nope. What about 2s?
Yeah.
If you have a big piece of graph paper, so maybe 2s. If the graph paper is not that big, what would be a next good choice?
5.
If you like counting by 4s, then 4 is a good choice.
5.
Okay? Everybody's pretty good at counting by 5s. Maybe 10 if it's a tiny piece of graph paper. Yes? 3 and 4 are also fine. You're welcome to use 3 and 4. I have no problem with it, but when you graph by 3s and 4s, you have to be able to count by them. All right, so let's all practice counting by 4. Ready? All together. Ready? 4.
8, 12, 16,
You're not keeping up with me.
24.
Let's count by 5s. Ready? Let's count by 5s. Ready? Go. 5.
15, 20, 25, 30.
Which one are you better at? 5. Then I think maybe you should choose 5s over 4s, okay? As a general rule, okay? So you can put 4 and I won't mark it wrong, but then you have to do a good job of it. Okay, look at your Y values. I've got to go from negative 40 all the way up to positive 40.
Oh, 10.
10s,
Or 20.
maybe 20s. Or if I have a bigger piece of graph paper, maybe 5s, okay? If you have a big piece of graph paper, you can use smaller scale. If you have a little piece of graph paper, you need to pick a bigger scale. All right, now let's think through. Here's what it looks like. There's all 4 quadrants. Y'all remember that word?
Hundreds.
Okay, there are no negative X's. So I can get rid of this side, and I got rid of that side. But I have both positive and negative Y's, so I need both of these sections over here. So when we go to put this on our piece of graph paper, it's going to look like that. Y'all see? Okay, let's go down here and label. We have to go at least to negative 40 or lower. We have to go up to positive 40 or higher. And we have to go over here at least to positive 40 or lower, whatever word you want to put there. Does everybody see how that works? Okay, so those, we did 2 together, and your job is to do this much, nothing else, no more graph paper, no graphing points, just plan for the rest of these problems.